Now I think we're recording. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of walk you guys through BackAgent, show you what we use it for, and if you guys have any questions, just jump in. A lot of this, sorry, I'm just here a couple people on the phone. So a lot of what's in BackAgent, Francis, our transaction coordinator, and I use most often. Obviously, this is all in here for you guys too, but most of the things we're going to cover today are kind of what Francis does to help you guys. But we want you to know how to use it and what it's for and all that in case you need to do it yourself. Okay, so when you log into BackAgent, there's the blend here, and these are some real estate related articles. They are not organ related, they're not Bend related, they're just real estate in general, but some of them are kind of helpful and informative. If you do a business Facebook page, some of them could be cool to share. You can just go into them and actually share them straight to your Facebook page. So that's kind of cool if you think there might be something that would be informative to other people. But one of the biggest things we use BackAgent for is the calendar. So we try to keep this as updated as possible as far as trainings and office meetings and what's kind of going on. My calendar, I have access to all these different groups up here. You guys only have access to personal and transaction. So just so you know, you'll see everything just like you see mine, but you can't add anything in the office tabs and stuff like that. So what you're looking at is, let's see, the blue is kind of what's going on with staff. So if people want to reserve this conference room to meet with clients or something like that, just shoot me an email. I will reserve it on BackAgent for you. That way we don't have interference with other people. You guys can always, of course, come and use the small conference rooms, but if you want this big one for something, just let me know. And then I put it in here so people kind of know that it is taken. All of our trainings are in green. And then the big office meetings and when the office is closed, those will be in orange on here for you. And then purple is stuff going on in the community. So those might be classes at CORE, or maybe a title company is hosting a class or something like that. So we try to add all those in here for you. And we'll tell you, like this one says 2 CE credits. So if you need to get some CE credits for your renewals, you kind of have all that information here. So then personal to you guys, like I said, is the gray and the red tabs. So if you add something in gray, like you'll see I have everybody's birthdays and their stellar anniversaries of when they joined the company, those will only show up on my calendar. So if you guys went in here and were like using it for your own personal use, which you totally can, nobody will see it if you put it in gray. And then the transactions, once we go through the paperwork side of BackAgent, you'll see, but when Francis uploads paperwork and then it'll ask, you know, when does your inspection period end, or earnest monies due, things like that, those will show up in red, like this one, on your calendar for you. So it's super helpful. And then what we can do is actually this subscribe button. You can subscribe and add this calendar to your phone calendar. So just like your iPhone or your Google Calendar, whatever you use. And these will populate into your phone for you, so you don't have to put them in on your own. When Francis enters your paperwork, they'll add to your phone automatically. So that's kind of cool. Then let's see. So another important tab, so we're in the office tab right now, and right here in documents. So we try to add as many helpful documents into BackAgent as we can. So there's different things for buyers agents in here, buyer broker agreement, a buyer consultation. You can go in, download this, and edit it to be personalized to you. A little moving checklist, escalation addendum, all different kinds of things. If you ever have a buyer that's going to waive a home inspection, Scott requires that you have them fill out this stellar waiver just to cover you, us. So this is in addition. Let's see, some COVID resources, like if you're gonna host an open house, there's some signs right here that say, you know, sanitize if you aren't feeling well, all that kind of stuff. Some listing agent paperwork, listing presentation. Again, you can download that and edit it to make it custom to you. And then marketing, this is where all of our logos are. So if you ever need a logo to create something, they're in here for you. And then another big one is training. So after we do power hours that are recorded or trainings like these, we will upload them into BackAgent. So you have access to them to watch again, or if you have any questions, you can come in here and kind of check them out. So that's pretty nice too. Let's see. That's about it for up there. Marketplace, I'll just show you real quickly. We don't use this so much anymore, but we used to create all of our flyers through BackAgent. Now we have a different template that we use, and it's actually through PowerPoint. But if you ever need flyers for something, you can always email Kayla or I, and we can create flyers for you. But if you just like quickly needed something and you wanted to make one up, you can make them in here. They're pretty basic flyers. We also have some vendors. There are only so many, well, we can't add any categories of vendors into here. So some of them, we try to put them where they make the most sense. But, you know, if you needed a lighting electrician or title and escrow, these are people who other agents in the office have actually used and told us, hey, we had a great experience with them, let's add them to our vendor list. So you can always check here and see if maybe there's someone you need in here.
I don't see that catalog tab on mine.
Let's see back here. Where's that?
Oh, wait, never mind. It's under Marketplace. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I switched over. Yeah. So Office is calendar and the documents. Those are the two big things. Marketplace is where the flyers live, or the vendors, if you need a vendor. And then people, you could use BackAgent and add in everybody that you know if you wanted to. It is not a CRM. You can't do anything in here with them. So I wouldn't suggest it, but you definitely could if you wanted to, just to have like everyone's information in one place. But what's cool about this is as you go through, as you send transactions to Francis, anybody in your transactions, when he adds in their information, they are automatically going to stay in our people tab. So no matter who's worked with them in the office, when they're added into BackAgent, they're added in for everybody. So most likely if you're doing a deal with an agent, an escrow officer, even a lender maybe, they're probably already in here for you, but whenever he adds them, they add in here. The other nice thing is if you needed to find someone in the office, you can, that show staff, that's us here. Let's see. No, not that one. Oh wait, maybe it's under community. Sometimes I have trouble finding what it's going to look like for you guys because my BackAgent is a little bit different because I have different access. Forrest, do you have this associates and staff button?
Under our Marketplace or which one?
Under people. All offices. Oh, that's what we need.
Mine matches up with yours at the top.
Okay. I thought that there was a way to just show the agents in the office. Maybe groups and teams. Let's see. Nope. Okay, well, never mind. But anyway, when you add in people in your transactions, they'll show in here. You can also, if you add anyone in under my contacts, this is where they would be. So mine are like obviously most of the agents because I add you guys all in when you join us. But yeah, so. Okay, so the biggest thing we use BackAgent for is our transaction tab here. So again, I will see everyone's transactions. You would only see your own. So there probably won't be quite as many when you first look at this because it's just for you guys. But these are all the transactions. You would still see them the same way. You just probably wouldn't have as many, right? But these are kind of what they look like as they're in progress. When they're in review, that means that that property has closed. So we're going to kind of go through adding a transaction, which this is what Francis does. So when you have a buyer, a contract with a buyer or a listing contract with a seller, you would send Francis that paperwork. You can do this yourself. Don't think you have to use Francis, but I would. He's amazing. He's really, really good at what he does. But when you have that paperwork, you would send it over to him or come and do this yourself. And then this is where all the paperwork is stored and where Scott reviews it to then pay you guys your paychecks. So in the transaction tab, we would add a transaction over here. Most likely it's going to be residential and it's probably going to be a sale or a listing. We don't really do leases. You can add in a contract at any time if you were just showing properties to somebody or if you just wanted to kind of start a transaction with clients maybe you're just starting to talk to or something. You can totally do that whenever you'd like. Most people don't start anything in here until you actually have an executed contract. So we're going to say we're in the contract phase. And let's work with a seller. And we are in Oregon. And who is our seller? So had I entered in all the contacts of people that I knew, I might have a client that I could select. But most likely you haven't done that. So we're just going to say we have, oh, look at so many tests. Okay. And you're going to put in an email and a phone number. So now as I'm adding this contact, that then would add it into my people tab up there. So that's kind of when all those things start happening. And test Michelle would be available in my people, in my contacts from here on out. So we will create the new transaction. Okay. And then here it starts. Obviously there's a bunch of orange, which means there's documents that they want us to upload. The easiest way to use BackAgent if you were to create a transaction yourself is to start from the left and work to the right, because as you add things in, they're either going to require more from you or actually take tasks away because you've answered them already. So we're going to start with the property and set property. We actually don't have connection to the MLS, just so you know, so you can't find a listing. You just have to enter it manually. And BackAgent is not hard to use at all, but it's just time consuming. So that's why Francis is so great, so you don't have to sit here and do all this entering. Okay, we're gonna set the property. Oh, it needs us to have a list price. Oh yeah, because we're doing a listing. So we're going big. Okay, so here's our property that we're selling. And it's now wanting more contacts. So it will sometimes ask you for things like a buyer, which if I'm just creating a listing contract, I most likely won't have, right? So you don't need to add that in unless you did happen to know who it was. But for now it tells me we're the seller and the seller's agent. And, oh
So
yeah.
if you're representing the buyer as well, you'd add that in there?
If you had it, we were creating a listing, so there's a good chance I wouldn't have a buyer yet. I probably just got all my listing paperwork done and I'm sending it to Francis just to kind of get this started. That would be the ideal way to go. I always say whenever you have a client sign something on zip forms, just send it to Francis. Like just forward him that email. And then he just kind of takes what he needs and does his thing. It's a lot easier than trying to go back and be like, oh, I need this and I need that, and taking them from a bunch of different emails. So most likely I won't have a buyer right now. And then, but when I do, we would add that in, whoops, and the buyer's agent would be added as well. And then we'd also have title and escrow would be added down here. So let's say, you know, I did know who this was. Most likely, your escrow officer is already going to be in here. So that's how you kind of just choose someone. And let's say even we had a buyer's agent, like maybe we already have the buyer. And then here, if they're in my contacts or if someone in Stellar has worked with them before, they're going to be in here. And so there she is, and we'll select that as our buyer's agent. So it'll show up right here. So then the next thing we go to is dates and info. So these are all those questions that I was talking about that when Francis answers, they would then populate onto your calendar here in BackAgent. So again, nice to subscribe to it so you can have them on your phone. It makes it really helpful. So let's see, our listing agreement took place today.
And that's the date it was signed by the seller.
Yep, correct. And then when does it expire? That's going to be whatever date you and your buyers have talked about, or excuse me, your sellers have talked about.
What seems to be standard a lot of time?
What's that?
What's the standard amount of time typically?
Oh, 6 months is pretty standard. A year, if you asked me last year, a year would be pretty standard, but I think right now a short contract is fine. You can always extend those too. So it never has to be totally set in stone. Sometimes I think a long expiration period can kind of scare people because maybe they think, oh, it's going to take that long, you know? I've seen contracts that are only 2 months, you know? It just totally depends on what you guys work out. But again, you can always extend that. So it's not ever totally set in stone. What is the ownership status? It is just going to be, let's say, a normal resale. And then was the property built before 1978? So it's asking us this because if we say yes, it's then going to ask us for a lead-based paint addendum. And if we say no, it knows that we don't need a lead-based paint. So we'll say yes, and then it's going to end up asking us for that. And then does it have an uncertified wood stove? And again, if we say yes, it did have an uncertified wood stove, it's going to ask us for the wood stove addendum. And then would
not certified.
What's that?
How would I know if it's not certified?
There's a tag. There's like a like a tag on the back of it. Most owners know if it's certified or not. You can also look it up. I believe there's a website. Tana, you might know. I think there's a website you can look it up on.
Yeah, except it's hard to get the information. Basically, it's usually the tag on the back. If it's there, you're good, and if not, then
I've never heard of that before. So
and that's something. It's very common here because we have wood stoves, you know, in many houses. And again, usually the seller knows. If it's a newer wood stove, it's going to be certified. If it's older and it's pretty obviously, you know, it's obvious that it's older, that's kind of when you're going to question, like, oh, is it certified or not? The other thing is that the inspector is going to look for that certification. So you would know after the inspection. And the appraiser will also look for that.
Is it a problem if it's not certified?
So yes, if it's not certified, that's a part of your contract. And so basically it's depending on what you answer in the contract on that wood stove addendum, either the buyer takes responsibility of destroying it or the seller needs to get rid of it.
Oh.
So, and there's lots of different things around that Scott actually goes through when you do the writing the offer, or yeah, one of the writing the offers, because he goes through all those addendums with you guys, and he kind of will talk to you about how that works, what it looks like, because there's lots of different things that happen with regards to wood stoves.
Gotcha.
Okay, and so then here's another question that's really important. Is another party going to get a referral fee? So maybe this client came from an agent in California and they're going to get a referral fee when this transaction closes. So if you say yes, then that's going to alert Francis and Scott that a referral needs to be paid out on this transaction. If it's just someone you met at an open house or whatever, obviously there's no referral because they're just your client. So we're going to say no.
Are referral fees a set dollar amount?
No, that's something you and the agent would negotiate and come to agreement on together. A lot of times it depends how ready you present the buyer. You know, like maybe they have 3 houses and they're already pre-approved and all you have to do is open the door and show it to them. The referring agent may try to negotiate a higher referral fee because they're ready and willing. I would say most standard is like 25 to 30%. But again, it can all be negotiated. Sometimes it's just a flat fee. It really just depends on what you guys come
I
to
was just
terms on.
worried about, you know, since I'd be a newer agent, if a more veteran agent might take advantage of that fact.
I would hope not. Again, I would say 25 to 30% is fairly standard. So yeah, I would just keep that in the back of your mind and then maybe negotiate from there.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, and our contract will be today because that's when we signed the listing. And then when the inspection period ends. So right now we were just entering a listing. So if I probably wouldn't have an inspection date yet, which would be fine. And then I would just move on. But just for terms of showing you guys, I'm going to go ahead and enter an inspection period. That way you can see how it just populates onto our calendar. So I'm going to say it's going to be a real short inspection period and it's going to end on Friday. And then again, we wouldn't have earnest money due unless we were already in contract with a buyer. But, you know, if you set that, that would also show up in our calendar. And then closing date. Again, if we put that in right now, it would show up on our calendar. And then what is the contracted sale price? So that's going to be whatever you guys negotiated, whether it be higher or lower than your list price. And then what's the type of financing that the buyer is using? You could add all that in there too once it's in. So here's kind of like a snapshot of our dates right down here. And here's kind of some information on the sale and what's going on. You can come in here and if you had an appraisal, you could add an appraisal, all those different kinds of things. So there's lots of information you can add. But so now it's only showing we have these 3 things because probably we didn't have a buyer yet. So we'll just leave those and then move on to documents. So now depending on how you answer a lot of these questions, that's those documents that it's going to require, right? Like if you need a lead-based paint or a wood stove addendum and all those kinds of things. So it's telling us there's 12 documents it needs right now. This is again a listing on our end. So it's going to ask us for the disclosures, disclose limited agency for sellers, the MLS agreement, I don't know why it asks for a broker demand right now. That doesn't happen until the end, you know, close to the end of the transaction, because that's when but actually, here's a good thing to bring up. So the broker demand goes out toward the end of your transaction, but if you're not using Francis, that would be something that you would go in and fill out yourself and you would send to escrow. If you use Francis, he actually sends you a broker demand and says, hey, will you look this over? Are the prices correct for each agent? And you sign off on it, and then he'll just send it to escrow so that they know what to pay you guys. So that's kind of nice because it's something you just don't have to think about. So again, it says required now. That really wouldn't be required now. So I'm not sure why it asks you so early, but
Question.
Yeah.
Where to go? Is it the limited agency?
Uh-huh.
Correct. Do you need to fill that out? That's only when you're going to work with the buyer and the seller, correct?
No. So there's two different ones. So there's disclosed limited agency for sellers, and then there's one for buyers also. So depending on which party you're working with,
Okay.
you would fill it out for that particular one. You're thinking of if like a dual agency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's
Gotcha.
different.
That's a little different document.
They do, I believe, have an agent's. Well, and because you mark that you're working with both of them.
Mm.
It's been a long time since I've represented both sides, so I can't remember if there's something separate or if you just do them both.
Gotcha.
I don't remember, to be honest.
I don't think there's a separate.
There is a separate one,
It's
right?
on the top of the agreement.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
In regards to escrow, how do you decide who chooses the escrow and all that stuff?
So in your listing, you can have a preferred escrow, a choice in there for the sellers.
Which is like
But the buyers technically are allowed to put in whoever they want. So, but again, that's all negotiations. So, you know, you can
I use someone who's used before, or you like, or you try to get each other referrals or something like that, or.
Yep. And most people do have their own, you know, agents that they like. And so, you know, let's say if I'm representing a buyer, I would probably try to add in the escrow agent that has worked really well with my buyers before. And then, you know, the listing agent could come back and say, nope, we want, you know, my sellers requested to work with so-and-so. We're not going to use that person. So it's all negotiation.
Yeah, I would say right now in this market, you don't, unless you have a bad experience, you go with whoever the sellers want.
Yes, I agree. I just don't think it's worth it to fight over that. But like Tana said, I mean, I've had a really bad experience with a certain escrow officer. And if that was the case, I probably would, and maybe even explain to the listing agent, like, hey, this happened and it really wasn't good or something. But yeah, I totally agree with Tana. Right now in this market, I wouldn't even mess with it. So, and some people though, going back to the listing, some people don't have a preferred escrow officer written in the listing. So then you could just write in whoever you wanted.
Okay.
Okay, so it's telling us that all these things are required right now. So how you would add documents is attach a document. But this is actually pretty cool because it breaks your PDFs up into individual pages so you can reuse them for multiple things. So like when you have a listing contract signed, it's like 13 pages, right? But it's a couple different forms. So it breaks it all up and you can separate the pages into different things. So I'll show you guys how to do that. Let's see.
This is a nice refresher because we used BackAgent a long time ago, but I
good.
all about it.
Oh, good. Okay, let's see. Seller's property disclosures.
Now these are all just downloads from DocuSign or something?
Yeah, so when somebody, when your client does the DocuSign, it emails you back in a PDF. So you would just download it to your computer. And so that's all I'm looking at is our downloads here. So I'm going to choose this one because it has multiple pages. Now this is a property disclosure, so it is all one form, but I'm just going to show you how to break it up as if it were multiple. Potentially, if it loads. Yeah, BackAgent's super easy to use. It's really not difficult. It's just, you know, it can be time consuming adding all these things in. But we do have agents that do this for themselves and don't use Francis. So you guys are welcome to do it however you want. Or if you were in like a pinch and maybe it was closing day and you're missing one document, but you have a listing appointment to go to or something, and that's the only thing you send to Francis, like that's totally fine. However you want to use him is up to you.
It is not cooperating.
I know, you know, this happened to me last time that I did this too. It's probably like you're zooming, sharing your screen, recording, doing too much. But that doesn't help me show you guys. Yeah, the load time is going up instead of down.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically what happens, sorry, this mouse is like backwards from what I'm used to, so I tend to go all over the place. Basically, it would show you like, it would look just like these little pages right here. So it would show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or however many pages. And then you just click the ones that you need, and then you would create the document. It really is pretty simple. And there's lots of instructions if you ever got lost. So I'm not gonna make us sit here and wait for all that. But when you do upload the documents, had we been able to, if you click, this would not be required anymore. It would be like blue because it's loaded in here. But you also, when you clicked on this, it would show you a little screenshot of what the document looked like. And if you needed to re-download it because you forgot or you lost it in your email or something like that, you can always come in here and re-download it. So it's nice because you have to hold your documents for what, 7 years, I think, after the transaction. And so they'll live in here until forever. So even if you leave the company, there, you know, your BackAgent account would be terminated, but your documents would still be in here. So that's kind of helpful to know. So anyway, that's the documents kind of. The checklist, I think Forrest, it was you that asked me about a checklist.
Oh yeah.
And so this is it. We chose a listing, so this one is specific to a listing. If you chose a buyer, it would look a little bit different. This is actually what Francis works off of. So he checks all these boxes to make sure everything's done and submitted for the final review. But if you wanted to come in here and kind of use this as a little helpful tool, you could totally do that. You would be surprised how many times people forget to like order a sign to go up, or you know, you schedule showings and there's no lockbox on the house. Easy things like that sometimes can be really easy to overlook. So some of this can be really helpful to look at.
Can you come in here and just download these checklists?
You know, I've never tried to download them, but I do know you can manage them.
Okay.
So if you wanted to delete some of these if they aren't pertinent to you, or if you wanted to add a checklist item, you could. I've never looked into the downloading.
It looks like there might be a download. It's a grade though, so.
It's great.
Yeah.
And the due dates, will that coincide with the calendar?
The due dates, which due dates, sorry.
When I said set due date or whatever a second ago.
Oh, let's go back. Let's see. Oh, over here on the side. You know, that's a really good idea. I've actually never played with it. Let's try one. We'll set it for tomorrow. Let's see, so 218. So let's go back and I'll show you where our date's populated. Let's see. Yeah, one item due. You totally could. So that's kind of cool.
Another way to manage it.
What's that?
Another way to, you know, manage yourself.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great idea. And so here you go. So IPN, so inspection period ends, your deposit, that was our earnest monies due. So all these dates populated into our calendar from the transactions paperwork that we added. So it's really cool, especially when you have multiple transactions going. It's really easy to mix up dates and forget dates and stuff like that. So, and again, then subscribe to the calendar. And I will tell you, a lot of people are hesitant to subscribe because they don't want all of this on their phone calendars. You can actually go in here and just subscribe to the personal calendar. So you would just push Google or Apple, depending on what kind of phone you have. And then you would email the link and connect them. It's pretty easy. If you have trouble though, let me know and I can help you guys do it. But a lot of people will just subscribe to the personal. That way those dates come onto their phone, but not all the trainings and everything else. But again, it's up to you. The one thing to note though, is if you are gonna subscribe to the personal calendar, if you don't have any transactions going, nothing will show up. So don't think that it didn't work. Or you could add a little test thing in there just to make sure that it did. But if you do subscribe, it most likely won't show anything unless you have a transaction going.
Okay, I might need your help with that because it said your email, Microsoft email doesn't exist or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, when it's usually easier for me to just like look at and try to problem solve. So when you're feeling better and you want to come in, we can check that out.
Okay, perfect.
So let's just go back into our little test transaction here. Okay, so as you add all your documents and move forward with your transaction, all the orange is going to start going away and it will be kind of finished up. Also, all your dates and stuff are down here. But so once everything's in, whether you're doing this yourself or Francis does it, the last thing is that like sellers, whatever the settlement statements or whatever that you need to add in. Once all that's added, oops, you would be in the post-closing because these will kind of keep moving forward and be green. So once all your documents are in, you would submit it. Obviously, if there's something missing, it's going to tell you that something's missing, but let's say theoretically there wasn't. You would submit it. Scott gets an email, I get an email, and it says, you know, this transaction has been submitted. That's when he goes in, he reviews your documents, make sure you have everything in there. There are times where you might need a waiver for something, like let's say you have a cash transaction and it's closed in a week. Even with cash, I don't think you could do that right now, but maybe.
Right.
That would be wishful thinking, but so let's say it was a cash transaction closed super, super fast and we never got proof of funds, but obviously it closed, so the funds are there and everything's all good. You or Francis would ask for a waiver of the proof of funds, and then Scott knows you need that waiver, he would approve it, and then we know we don't have that on file because it would tell us there's still a document that we need. Or different things like that. Sometimes people just refuse to sign the wire fraud, you know, or whatever. You can ask for a waiver and most likely Scott will give that to you as long as it's within reason. But he'll review it and everything's in there, all looks good. That's when he would cut your check based on that broker demand that you approved, and then that's how you get paid. So everything has to come through BackAgent for you to get your commission. That's kind of it as far as BackAgent goes. Those are the main things we use it for. Oh, I will point out really quick, this link button up here, if you ever needed to get to like NAR or Supra, different things, Flex, maybe you forgot the website, I don't know. E-license, if you needed to add in some of your continuing education or what have you, the sign install people that we use, you can come in here. Oh, the other things are listing and closing checklists. So if you have a listing that you're going to be using and you want to complete a checklist for Kayla and I to help you with, you can come in here under links, go to this stellar listing checklist, fill it out, and then Kayla and I get it and we know how we can help you. So this is really great, even if you don't want anything, because then we won't bother you with it. You know, and a lot of times right now for listings, you don't need a whole lot of things, but maybe you still want a home book, or which that's the book. It gives you all the property information. It comes from the title company. Or you want us to order a sign or just make you a flyer, all that stuff. You would just come in here, answer yes or no, and submit it to us, and then we just take it from there and know how to help you. So,
On this closing checklist, it says just sold cards with postage. Does that automatically send to the neighborhood? Like, do you do all the addresses and stuff as well?
Yep. So that can work two ways. That can work two ways. The next thing I'm actually going to show you guys is the marketing portal, which that's where we create those things. But when you do either a just listed or a just sold, you can contact title and say, hey, I want the 100 closest addresses to this house, but I only want, what am I thinking of? Owner occupied. You know, I don't want anybody that rents the house, or I want only people who have owned for at least 2 years because they might be thinking of selling. You can do that with title, and they can send you a spreadsheet, and then we can upload the spreadsheet into Bear Printing and send it to those addresses. Or we can create it in Bear Printing, and it's just a complete radius. And so it's the 100 nearest houses, no matter who it is. So either way you want to do it. Okay, so that was the links. I think that's kind of all I have for BackAgent. You guys have any questions? No, pretty easy.
I had a question. Like, I want to write up my very first offer. It's a 5 o'clock showing or whatever. I get home and then at 6 something at night, and I'm trying to write up my first offer. Who do I contact that late at night to help hold my hand to do that? Scott
or Angie.
Okay, where's kind of the cutoff where I don't know if they're going to be grumpy if I call them at 7 o'clock at night?
Yeah, most likely not. And, you know, if you called Scott and you couldn't get a hold of him, maybe he's at like a kid's basketball game or something like that, then call Angie. That's what they're there for. That's their job. So there's no cutoff. Or shoot him a text and say, hey, I need help. You know, if for some reason both of them were busy or something, they would probably refer you. It just doesn't happen. That's why they're both there, is so, you know, if one's unavailable, the other one is.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, call them. And, you know, they expect you'll go through all these classes and they'll teach you all these things, but when you actually get to doing it, it is different. And you're going to be like, I forgot and I don't know and all this stuff. So they expect that. That's what they're there for.
Okay.
Okay, so the next thing I was going to show you guys was the marketing portal. So we use Bear Printing for a lot of our marketing pieces. They're based out of Portland. They actually ship things to Evergreen Home Loans on 3rd, and then you don't have to pay shipping, which is super nice. So we kind of work with them. They do use our specific greens and everything like that, so everything looks cohesive. You guys all have a login. It's stellarnw.bearprinting.com. and it's going to be your email, your preferred email, whether it's a Stellar email or, you know, like the Hatton team, you guys have your own. And then the password is Stellar123 exclamation point. So that's all in your new agent paperwork too. Or if you guys ever want to come on here and you need help, you forget, just shoot me an email or give me a call and I'll remind you how to get in there. But the cool thing about this is Kayla and I have an admin account. So you guys each have your individual accounts, but we actually have access to all of them. So when we're going to create something for you, we're going to create it in your personal account. That way you can see it and we can see it, but not everybody else needs it. So we'll use Forest, for example, since I found it right there. So go. So now we're working in Forest's Bear printing account. So in here is where we would create, with those listing or closing checklists, your postcards or perma flyers, which I brought some of this stuff so you guys could see. But these are perma flyers, Tana, I'm sure you know what it is, but Forest. So these are like hard flyers that a lot of people use nowadays. They just screw right into the post that your sign is held on. You can see those too. And so a lot of people use perma flyers now instead of flyers. That way you don't have to keep flyer boxes full, because we all know we drive by and they're empty most all the time. And then there's also, I forgot to grab, they also have these flyer minis, which are pretty cool. So it's actually this little like clear box that goes right on the perma flyer. And then these are little business card size like flyers that you can make, and it has like housing and the house information, but also your information, which is pretty cool because, you know, with flyers, they probably end up on the floor in your car in the trash or something. Whereas a business card size most likely would end up in my purse or a back pocket or something like that. So those mini flyers are pretty cool. Most people are kind of going that way. They're also really cheap. I think it's $14 for 250. Hold on, sorry, I gotta get water. Wearing a mask.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And talking. Okay. So most people are kind of going that route. The perma flyers, I believe, are $22.50. So I think it ends up being like $45 for the whole setup. Yeah. And then they're also really cool because you can take them down before your post gets removed, and then take these to your next listing and say, this is what I do. You know, these are the type of marketing things that I provide. We also have the option of these home brochures. So they're like glossy, kind of really nice. So maybe for like higher end houses, those people really like, and they're $55 for 50 of them.
You could go on the sign.
No, so those you would leave it in the house.
Oh, gotcha. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
So if you did an open house, you know, especially on those higher end, like super nice to
Yes.
hand out to people.
Okay.
Anyway, so we make all of that stuff in Bear Printing for you. So if you ever need things like this, email us, we'll take care of it. Of course, you can go in here and do it yourself. It can just be a little confusing what everything's called. So you would just do an online design and start from a template. You have to name everything. But you would just come in here and let's see, The home brochures, these are those glossy ones that I just showed you. You can choose the different amount of pictures that you would like. There's also options for 2 agents. So like for people that have a team, you can do a headshot of each person and both agents' information. So that's really nice. Let's see what else. The flyer minis, those are those little business cards that I showed you. And again, you can pick how many photos you want, and oh gosh, I'm gonna try to show you guys where the permaflyers. Oh, there we go. So the permaflyers, they have a bunch of different options as well, but if you want to do the little mini cards, you have to use the ones. So we did permaflyers in Home Marketing Center because it gives you a spot for that little box to go onto. If you use one of the different, just normal permaflyers, there would be no box for that, which is fine. You don't have to get the mini flyers to do a permaflyer. So it's totally up to you. And then, oops.
If we do the one with the box, do we have to remember to buy the box separately?
Nope. So when you order them, the box comes with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually like $5, and I think that that's included. I want to say that's like $14 for the whole thing.
Okay. Because that would suck if you bought both and forgot to buy the box.
Yeah, totally. No, it comes with it. And you can buy extra little mini cards if you ran out for some reason or
Okay.
something like that. But yes, it does come with it. But basically you just choose whichever one you want. So like this, if this is what we chose, permaflyers don't have a back because they're on a post, so there's no back to them. So we would just kind of start going through the styling. You can choose different kinds of fonts, and then you add in your text and images. It's, again, super simple. And then you just preview it. It shows you what it looks like. If Kayla and I make these for you, but you had like a certain number, like the 4 best pictures that you wanted to make sure that we used, just let us know which ones, and then we'll fill in the rest. We kind of do the bullets and stuff according to what's in your listing. But again, if you had like special ones that you want, just let us know, no problem.
So if we did that listing checklist, this is something you guys would come in.
Yep, so that's all on there.
Okay.
So when it'll ask you, did I close that? I did, I think, huh? Whoops. Yeah, I did. Oh, here. When you go into the listing checklist, so you'll put in your email, your name, and then the property address. Do you want us to input it into the MLS? Yes or no? Because you all have access to input your listings on your own. A lot of times, if people are really busy, they'll have us do it for them. Or if it's like your first listing and you want me to look it over, I can totally help you do that. I've input thousands. I can usually tell you if something's missing or wrong. You also have access to input your listing into the RMLS. So that shows up in the Portland area because Scott is a member of Portland MLS as well.
Gotcha.
We get to use that.
Do you recommend that? Do you think that's something
You know,
useful, or?
I don't think it's necessary, but I also don't think it could hurt anything.
Okay, yeah.
I will tell you that I've seen listings in the RMLS in Bend that aren't in our MLS here, which is kind of weird. So I wouldn't do something like that, but it wouldn't hurt. I mean, it's just more exposure.
Yeah.
So you could totally. I have a certain set of agents who put every listing of theirs in the RMLS, and they've sworn like 5 of them have sold because of that. So if you wanted a home book, so those just come printed out. Again, it's all the information on the property. And that's when you would choose, Forrest, you were asking, so let's say my sellers have worked with Deschutes County Title before and they really love them and that's who they want to use. I would order my home book through Deschutes County in hopes that that's who we use for the transaction.
Sorry, what is a home book?
So it's basically like all the tax information, all the home information.
Oh, just a full kind of write-up of the property.
Yeah, it's usually a good little stack of paper.
Okay.
Past sales, different stuff like that. So,
Okay.
and then, yeah, do you want a sign installed? And if you do you want a flyer box? So that's for like a regular paper flyer. With COVID right now, I don't think they're actually installing them with flyer boxes. So that's not an option. But we can still make up flyers for you if you want to leave them in the house. So those would just be like what's on this wall, just a normal home flyer. Or if you were doing an open house and you wanted some. So then now it's going to get to the perma flyer. So that's when you would say yes with 100 mini flyers and you would get one of these. So that would give you the little box and the minis. So, and then just listed postcards. They're super simple. It's like one photo and it says just listed on the top. And the back would be your MLS write-up. We just use whatever on there. And if you guys want to edit it or change it, just email us and say, hey, could you add this or change that? And we can do that. And then if you say yes to the just listed and you want us to add on those cards that you're doing an open house, we can add the date and time of the open house. That does take planning because you have to consider that it takes, 5 to 7 days unless you're doing priority mail, which I think is 3. So, you'll want to plan and make sure you're ordering these in time that they'd be to people by the time your open house is being held. So just take that into consideration. Deluxe home brochure. Oh, they're 50 for 50. There you go. Even better. So those are those nice, shiny, glossy home brochures. And then your listing may be featured in the Central Oregon Real Estate Guide. That is, oh shoot, I left it in Scott's office. It's just like a little tiny magazine that has a bunch of different real estate information in it. And so we have a page on that in that guide, and we change it up every month with 9 different listings. So this does not mean it will for sure be in there. It's just saying you are okay with us putting it in there. Like your sellers didn't say, hey, I don't want my house being anywhere or something like that. So that would only be, please do not put it in there. And then Craigslist ads, we usually create those for every listing as well. You would actually be surprised how many emails we get on Craigslist ads. And so we have one Craigslist account for just the whole office. So I get the emails and then I forward them to you or whoever the listing agent is. But you'd be shocked how many emails I get off Craigslist ads. List Hub is a kind of like a seller.
Do you have a Facebook Marketplace as well, or only Craigslist?
Oh yeah, that would be something you guys would have to take care of. The office, we actually can't post things on that in our business page. So that would be something you would need to do. List Hub is, actually I should have pulled that up for you guys to see really quickly. Basically, it shows you how many times your property has been searched on different platforms. It no longer counts as Zillow.
How come?
They didn't renew with them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Let's just hope I got the login. Ah, look at there. Okay. So if you come in here, so it still does realtorhomes.com, which I know, that's a good, people search on those. But if you come in here to publishers, it shows you everywhere that is kind of tracked. So now obviously you see Remax and Assist to Sell. Why would they be tracking that? It's just like our website. So, the MLS goes to syndicates to all the different agencies' websites. And so that's why it's on competing websites, because everybody, you know, wants their listings to be everywhere, right? So I know it kind of can look funny, but so anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
So we can go and make an account for ourselves.
Yeah, so you actually all should have an account to this as well.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I lied. You don't until you mark yes for your first listing.
Ah, gotcha.
So you won't have an account until you have a listing, because it has nothing to track.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you ever wanted to know who all it published to, that would be that. And then, no, not that one. Let's go into inventory. So if you say yes to the List Hub report, you, your listing would show up here. And let's see when that, here, we'll do this because it's mine. So so down here, we would create a seller report for you. And again, we would do this for you, but just so you guys know what it looks like.
Cool.
We do the list, we do this one. So it shows you the top cities people are searching for it in, how many views in the last week, how many people viewed on these different platforms, all that kind of stuff. And so then when it's asking you if you want a List Hub report, we actually schedule the seller's report to be sent out. So it sends out on every Wednesday. And maybe you don't have to send it to your seller. You guys could have it sent just to yourself. That's totally fine. It asks you what email you want it to be sent to. So we would obviously put in the first name, last name, the email, and then every week you would get the listing report of what's kind of gone on. These are really nice, even if you don't send them to your sellers, to send to yourself. Not in this market, you don't need them, but when times are slower, it's kind of good to have what it looks like week over week to maybe say, hey, our views have gone down. It might be time for a price reduction, different things like that. So it's just kind of some good info to have access to. And then you don't have to go and look at different websites, because we used to do those manually. Let's see, Boomtown property link with no registration. So what that means is Boomtown, obviously that's the back end of our website, right? It's lead generating, but a lot of times people want to just share a link to their new listing on Facebook, but they don't want people to get frustrated that they have to register after seeing 3 photos. So we can actually create a link that you could share to Facebook, to whatever, and it will allow people up to 99 pictures before it asks them to register. Pictures, so different properties, whatever. It gives them 99 views before they have to register something. So a lot of people like that, so that they can put that out again on Facebook usually, and people don't have to register. And then home warranty coverage for sellers. So a lot of people don't know, but you actually can order a home warranty for listings, and it will cover your listing up to 6 months, and it is completely free 100%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I tell people I don't know why anyone would not take advantage of this, because it's so awesome. Scott actually has used this on one of his listings. Their water heater went out and it just charged like the $65 for the trip charge or whatever. It's like $65, and they brought his sellers a whole new water heater and cost him nothing.
So it's trying
For the buyers love too.
of the listing while the agreement's in place.
Yep, it's
Okay.
exactly. But then it's also in hopes that the buyer purchases a home warranty or the seller offers a home warranty. That's kind of the idea of it.
Okay.
But basically, once the property closes and new ownership takes place, the warranty is void.
Okay.
So it's only while the home is listed for sale.
Gotcha.
So while it's in escrow, everything like that, totally covered. But as soon as it closes, it's done. So just to kind of be aware of, but it's completely free, like literally $0. So pretty cool. And again, we order them for you. So we have an account through Fidelity, National Home Warranty, and it allows us to order for each agent, but that is the only home warranty company that I have access to do that for. So if you do have a buyer or a seller that gets a home warranty through escrow, through the sale, and you don't use Fidelity, you would have to order that on your own, just to be aware. So yeah, and then you would just submit it. And so we get those and take action. So really nice, kind of streamlines the process and hopefully helps you guys not forget some of those little things that you have access to through us, and helps make your listings a little bit easier.
Very helpful.
Cool. I think that's all. I already mentioned Francis. As soon as you guys have something signed, send it to Francis. And then he's super great. He's always on top of it. He'll email you and just say, hey, congrats on the new deal. I'm missing XYZ. And then he'll follow up with a little reminder in a couple days. And he's really great. But just email him and he'll take care of things for you. I think that's all. Do you guys have any more questions for me?
I just saw on the screen you were just on, it said drop pictures here.
Oh, Dropbox.
That too. I was wondering.
Sure. So we have one Dropbox account for the office, and I'll just show it to you. You each have your own folders in Dropbox, and then within those folders are property for each of your listings. So if we're going to be doing some of this marketing stuff for you, having access to your pictures is great. You can go onto Dropbox and add them in yourself. You can email them to us. If we're not inputting them into the MLS for you, we don't necessarily need all of them. If you just want to email us over the ones that you want to use on a flyer or something, you could do that. However you guys want to do it is fine, as long as we just have access to them. We can steal them off the MLS, but they don't always print very well. So yeah, each agent has a folder. Oh.
So how do we change like where our photographers currently are sending stuff to make it go to you instead?
Well, a lot of them now send Dropbox links. And if you just ask them to send it to Stellar Office at Stellar NW,
okay,
that's great. And then we just take them and put them right into Dropbox here. Most have no problem doing that, and that's really the easiest way. If you have a photographer taking pictures, just have them put us on all of your emails, and that's definitely the easiest way. What is going on? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it seems like what we want to do, whatever's easiest.
Oh yeah, you're so sweet. We're happy to accommodate whatever, but this is also like where we keep your headshots so that we have access to those. But like you'll see, so here's different headshots, different lots, houses. So then when we go into these, we have the pictures. So everyone has their own Dropbox for that. Let's see if there was anything else on here that I should mention then. Let's see. Sign. Oh, the Stellar Marketing Portal. If you ever forget that Bear printing login, that's how you get there. If you wanted to create your own permaflyer, whatever. Flex. The Bend short-term rental map, if you wanted to check and see if a property was short-term eligible. The closing checklist is pretty similar to the listing checklist, just backwards. Do we need to remove a post? Do you want just sold cards? We also will send a thank you card for the co-broker that you worked with. That's usually, just so you know, I write your names on them. I don't sign them for you, but you know, from Tana and Peter and Stellar, it's from all of us. And so if yes, we ask who that agent was. And then also if you want us to reach out to your client for a review, this is a new thing that we've been working on. So we're building like a review site for everybody. And if you mark yes, we'll reach out to your client and say, hey, if you liked your experience, we would love for you to leave reviews. It's so helpful for our agents, whatever. And then we email them like a link that links to all your review sites. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Now, these charges, do they get automatically deducted from your commissions, or does it just charge your card on file with the brokerage?
Right. Yep. So all of these fees, that's one of the ways we keep our fees at Stellar so low, is that you guys take care of these kinds of things yourselves. So whatever card we have on file for you, now that's not your account. So the account we have is for the Stellar fee and the MLS fee, and then where you receive your commissions to. But we actually need like a credit card or a debit card or whatever on file, and then we just charge those charges to that.
What's the turnaround for, if you do want that signpost to be put up and removed, what's the turnaround of those things happening?
So when you do a listing checklist, we look through it. Home books, signs, those get ordered right away. But the sign, the post company takes 3 business days, but it depends on the time you order it. So if you, I think 1 o'clock is the cutoff. So if you order something at 2, it's really going to be like 3 days after that. Does that make sense? But if I ordered it at 10 in the morning, that would be a business day. So yeah, that's something else you have to be aware of, is it does take a few days because utilities have to come out and locate the utilities so that they don't hit like a water line or something like that. Right. So they locate, and that's really what takes the time. And then the sign will be installed, the post will be installed. The other thing to take note of is they changed the marketing like requirements, I guess. So you can't have a post up on a property until 24 hours before the property goes on the MLS. So it takes some planning or in coming soon. So you can put a property in coming soon status, and they will okay that like it's active because it's public. What they're trying to avoid is people putting up posts and having a post up for 2 weeks and getting all these sign calls and generating all these leads when there's no access to the rest of the agents and public. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, so it does take some planning. So let's say you were going to have a property go live on Friday. Well, maybe next Friday, let's say. So we can choose a date for the post to be installed. So better to order it earlier than later. And we can say, hey, we want the post installed on Thursday. That way it goes on Thursday because your property is going to go live on Friday. Mm-hmm. And then removal is next day. So when you do a closing checklist and you order that you want a post removed, we just set it for the next day. Except in Lapine and Prineville, it can take longer because they only go there on certain days.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, And I can, you know, when you get your first listing going and stuff, we can work through kind of all that stuff with you. Same with kind of learning about the coming soon status. That's new to with our Flex MLS, and our old one, we didn't have that. So you can put properties in coming soon status for up to 30 days. So that's maybe if you're waiting on professional photos or something, but your sellers are like, I want people to start seeing it now. Honestly, in this market, I think it's a disservice to your sellers, but that's just my opinion. I would wait and have it go active.
So coming soon is gonna be just like a few pictures and like an address, or?
Yeah, so it depends.
Just
I mean,
like super basic kind of little.
No. So it has to be completely input, just like as if it were going active.
Gotcha.
So it would have all the information, but maybe you're waiting on pictures, so you just have a couple cell phone pictures that you want to throw in there. And so then it'd be in coming soon status. But then there's some tricky things with coming soon as far as dates on the contract. So it's going to ask you for a projected active date, and you're going to put that in, but it will go live automatically on that date. So if you're not ready or you forget or something like that, it's going to go live whether you're ready or not. It's kind of a tricky thing. So if you have clients that are interested in coming soon, we should chat.
I gotta go.
What?
Thank you, Michelle. I gotta go.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Tana.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, so if you're gonna use coming soon, let's have a conversation so you guys can kind of, or if you're going on a listing appointment and you wanna know before you go so you guys can talk about it, let's kind of chat about what that looks like. Again, in this market, I honestly wouldn't do it, but.
Just plan your site and your sign correctly.
Yeah, because things are going so quickly. Like you have to, in the MLS too, in Flex, you have to look for coming soon, like specifically. And if you're not looking and you miss it, but other agents are seeing it, and I don't know, I think it's a disservice to your sellers. I think it's better to just go active, get all the people looking at it and who are interested, and then go from there in this market.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
I think I'm good for the moment.
Okay, that sounds good. How you feeling?
Good. I feel like I'm pretty much better. It's just a little bit of a cough left over. It's just a cold, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's good. All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you later.